Hello, I'm Nathalie Dupree. Today's menu takes us all over the world. We have flavors from the Orient, from the Mediterranean, and from Scandinavia. Or is it the Orient again? You're going to love this Italian-style roasted pepper and broccoli salad. It's really wonderful. And the only thing is I don't like that sometimes bell peppers are very expensive at certain times of the year, in which case you could substitute canned pimentos if you needed to, or buy a jar of the peeled. They seem to be a lot more reasonable. First thing you do to peel a pepper is to heat the grill or broiler and well char the pepper on all sides, or just do it like I did, heat up an open flame and put your pepper on, and you get it nice and black. When it's good and black all over, you put it in a plastic bag and it sort of steams and releases the skin. And then you go back and just peel off the skin just like this. And it comes right off. It's pretty easy. This could even be more black. It could be just absolutely charred, like a marshmallow was in campfire days. Really terrific. And see, it's a little hard to peel if it's not real black. And then you twist off your pepper seed or your stem and pull off your pepper. And this guy's just a little underdone, but it's okay. And get rid of all your seeds and sliver your pepper. Now, you do want to try to be sure that you don't get seeds all over everywhere, every which way. So, of course, at home you'll be a little more tidy. I usually do this under running water or even over a bowl, and then take and just sliver your pepper, or you can even tear it into strips. Then chop some red onions and parsley and a head of broccoli into florets. I'll show you this right here. Here's just a piece of broccoli, and I'm just going to cut the stems here like little quarter-size pieces, and then cut the broccoli into florets. And bring a nice large quantity of water to the boil. You want boiling water when you add a green vegetable, and this has just been at the boil. I turned it down a second ago, but it's pretty hot, as you can see. And cook your green vegetables just 2 to 3 minutes. I love the microwave for vegetables. I'm not crazy about it for a lot of other things, but I love it for vegetables. And I heat a little water and put them in a plastic bag or just covered with a little plastic wrap, and cook them 2 to 3 minutes. That's another way. And then you drain them and you run them under cold water to set the color, and it's terrific. Then in a salad bowl, make your dressing. Put a teaspoon of Dijon mustard and whisk it around, and whisk in 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar and 6 tablespoons of olive oil. And then I have a half a teaspoon of ground cumin, a nice underused thing, salt and pepper to taste. And then you just add, I'm going to add that in a second, you add your broccoli and your red bell pepper. You could pull off some of those charred bits there. You don't have to leave the charred ones on it. And your red onion. Pretty, isn't it? And then your parsley, your 4 heaping teaspoons of parsley. It wouldn't have mattered if I'd added it earlier. And you just coat it very well. I try not to get my my salads drooping, and then just serve it at room temperature, or of course cold. I'm going to take that pepper off the eye and see if I've got it to the nice color brown that you really want. If not, I'll have to move along so we won't get to see it, but maybe you will. There. Now that's what I call a charred pepper. Isn't that great? Good. One of my favorite things from the everyday fare section of my book is Dudley's lasagna. But you know, it's awfully good for entertaining too. I don't know anybody that doesn't like lasagna. It's just an all-time favorite. I've already cooked a 6-ounce package of lasagna noodles in a large quantity of boiling water until they were just done 9 to 10 minutes, and I've drained them. And I want to just tell you about this. Most really fine pasta is made from semolina flour, although you can make your own from bread flour. That works just fine. But this is semolina. And then I've got some pasta, some lasagna here. I'm just going to add the boiling water just so you can see it. That's 9 to 10 minutes, and then drain it. And of course, if you had homemade fresh pasta, it would cook a lot faster. Meanwhile, you brown up 2 pounds of lean ground meat and add a chopped onion and 4 chopped garlic cloves, and just cook all of these until they're sauce. Now, if there's excess fat, and that just depends, if you're using chuck, which is not so lean, you're going to have extra fat. But if you used ground round, you wouldn't. So it's just up to you and just what your diet stuff is. I love chuck because it's got so much flavor. And then you add a 1/2 tablespoon of thyme, 2 tablespoons of oregano, 1 1/2 teaspoons of fennel seed, really nice seeds, a teaspoon of red bell pepper flakes, salt, and then you add spaghetti sauce. Here's some salt and spaghetti sauce. And this is, you can use the marinara sauce recipe that's in my book, or you can go ahead and use a good bottled spaghetti sauce. We've added enough herbs and things to dress this up. And I just find that the bottled spaghetti sauces are awfully good, and I've had a lot of spaghetti sauces in some of my other books. So I just decided to go ahead and give you permission for your everyday meals to use jar sauces. I think trying to always make your own spaghetti sauce is kind of madness, unless, you know, you live in that perfect world I keep talking about. So then you just add lots of nice freshly ground black pepper and cook it all until it's hot. Then take a 12 by 8 1/2-inch thick baking dish and make at least 2 layers of noodles. If you want to cook your pasta ahead, you really should keep it in water until you're ready for it, I think, or it gets like this. It's just a little gummy, but we kind of unveiled it before we started this. Now, then you add your lasagna noodles, and then you add your spaghetti sauce. And I just happen to have some over here, so I don't have to use what's there. It's just a little thicker. It's reduced a little. You add your ground meat. This is really lovely. Now, lasagna can be made ahead of time. My friend Dudley drives me crazy because he does this a lot. He started doing this when he became a recycled bachelor, and it was sort of his main dish that he had whenever he entertained for the longest time, very long time actually. And that's all right, you know. You can keep serving people the same thing. You get known for it. But he does change the recipe every time too, by the way, so it's never the same twice. So if you go to his house, you can't really expect that it'll taste this way. I think mine's good, stable. This is a good stable recipe for me. But he just doesn't get it that you can make it ahead of time, and he'll start assembling this as the guests walk in the door. And you know, that's just madness, because it means that you're spending your whole time in the kitchen and not enjoying your guests. The thing to do is to make this ahead of time and refrigerate it for a couple of days, or freeze it even, and then just reheat it when you want it. You've got 1 1/2 cups of ricotta cheese altogether, and 8 to 12 ounces of this nicely sliced mozzarella cheese. And you put that there, and then you do another layer of the pasta and some more of your spaghetti sauce. And it's just very, very delicious. Let me just do another layer for you here. I know you've seen it, but you like to see how it all fits into the same pan. And here goes this. You know, I think one of the main things that happens when people entertain is that they when they're inexperienced, is that they don't make a time chart. And one of the things that I always do is to make a time chart, both for home cooking and for entertaining. I write down exactly when it is that I want to serve my food, and I plan. This all bakes, you know, at 375 degrees for about 20 minutes, but that's what I write down. I say, how long is this going to take to bake, and when do I want to serve it? So that if I invite people over, I plan to serve them 45 minutes after they walk into my house. And I say, come at 7:30 to eat at 8 or whatever it is that I invite them for. And here's that. Now here's my ricotta, and yet again. And some more of the mozzarella. So there you are. You can see how it all layers up. But anyway, I tell them what time to come for. Oh, and you sprinkle the whole thing when you're ready with 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese. Now, you do that after you've cooked it 20 minutes. I just want to be sure. I'm going to get that out of there and tell you that. I want to not get distracted and not tell you what to do. But you want to be sure to write down what time you want to serve, and what time everything's going to be ready, and then work backwards so that you know that it's going to take you 20 minutes to assemble something like this and 10 minutes for your pasta. So that's what you want to do. And you return it to the oven. Let me just see where I am here. Here I am. Bring this out and return it to the oven with your Parmesan cheese on the top. I just was afraid I'd forget that. For about 10 minutes. And you know, Parmigiano Reggiano is the best cheese, and it doesn't matter how much of you use, it never seems to be enough, but it is expensive, so 1/4 to 1/2 cup will be just great. And now here's something I think you'll really want to learn about. In America, we call it Parmesan. That's short for Parmigiano Reggiano. It's one of the world's best and most imitated cheeses. Parmigiano Reggiano is produced by more than 1,000 small dairies in northern Italy. Traditional cheese-making methods in this agricultural district west of Bologna are at least 700 years old. The ingredients are entirely natural and always have been. Making this cheese is a kind of folk art. Milk is collected twice daily from heifers fed mostly on green fodder. 2 successive milkings are used in each batch. Excess cream is skimmed off so the cheese won't be too rich. By law, Parmigiano Reggiano is only made when the cow's milk is fresh, between April and November. The milk is heated in copper kettles shaped like upside-down church bells. It's mixed with fermented starter from the previous day's production, plus rennet, an extract from calf stomachs. A mild chemical reaction causes the coagulation and separation of curds from the liquid, called whey. Lumps are broken up as the milk heats. Carefully separated, the curds are drained, placed in forms and turned regularly. A pressure template, rather than dies, are used to mark each wheel as genuine. Wheels are brine salted and aged for at least 2 years. Before shipping, they're inspected and fire branded. This hard but easily digestible cheese has a rich straw color. It splits evenly when cut. The rind is entirely edible. I add it to soups or cooked dishes, even grind it up. The inside is usually grated or shaved for topping pastas and rice dishes, but it's wonderful when eaten all by itself, hunk by hunk, as a table cheese.
For nearly a century, LeCreuset's colorful French cookware has been a favorite in kitchens around the world. From its bold finishes and uncompromised quality to its easy-to-clean materials, the brand's range of iconic products are as easy to use as they are to love.
So many people ask me about sun-dried tomatoes and what they are that I thought I would use another recipe for them. I try not to use many things that you wouldn't commonly just have on your shelf. I guess you've noticed that I really want things that are available in the local grocery store. And sun-dried tomatoes are. Sun-dried is really not the way you're supposed to call them because many of them are not. Most of them now are dried in racks inside of great big machines whose whole purpose is to dry the tomatoes. Well, one time we drove up to the Sonoma Valley and saw them dried and did a location segment on them. And it was just gorgeous. They picked these lovely, juicy Italian tomatoes and then washed them and then put them out on a rack to dry and then rolled them into this bigger storage bin where they dried. Now this is a sun-dried tomato that's been soaked in oil or else in water, and it makes it easy to chop. They also have the chopped kind that are available. And they don't taste any more like tomatoes than you would say that a raisin would taste like a grape. They're completely different. They have a real full flavor, and they're just delicious. I love them, and they're quite different from a tomato, which is why I would use them in this recipe. It kind of is a nice, in this menu, it's kind of a nice contrast. Now cut your crusts from 10 slices of thin sandwich bread. And that's easy, and then just cut it into squares, eighths or quarters, whatever size you think that you're going to want to serve, and toast it very lightly on both sides. It's logical to toast a whole piece first and then cut it into pieces, but then you don't get as nice edges, so you just have to decide what you want to do. Now in a food processor, you puree 5 tablespoons of butter, 5 tablespoons of dried tomatoes, 2 garlic cloves, a teaspoon of fresh basil, and 3 tablespoons of grated Parmesan cheese. And you don't really have to chop your garlic ahead of time. I did, or my herbs, because really it all kind of mushes together anyway. But if you're going to get your processor bowl dirty anyway, you might as well do it anyway. So let's see, here we go here. And then just puree it around. And when you get a nice puree, like I have here magically, you go ahead and just spread it right on your toast round. I don't know if you can always hear the sounds that happen here, but we have a big standing joke here of dropping our diamonds when we make a noise on the set. So here we go. I spread my toast rounds, and now you go ahead and put them into the oven again for about 10 minutes, just till they're brown, about 5 minutes maybe. Let me just show you these, and then cool them on a rack. These freeze nicely, but why bother unless you need to? And there they are. They're very tasty and nice, and you can use them for soups, or you can use them for just a little taste for people. It's just terrific. Now, the next thing that we have is a lovely upside down gingerbread. And of course, I always think of gingerbread as Scandinavian because, you know, on St. Lucia's Day, or Lucia's Day, depending on who you are. I have a friend whose name is Lucia, but I love those Miss Marple, the books about Lucia in the English books. But on that day in Sweden, they always serve some form of gingerbread or ginger biscuits or cookies. So preheat your oven to 350 degrees and make your topping by melting 1/4 cup of butter and then add 1/2 cup of packed dark brown sugar and stir it for 1 to 2 minutes over low heat. Now I have to stress that if you don't get this really melted, it'll be grainy, and it sounds like such a simple thing, but it really has to be melted. Now this has gotten a little over melted here, and I had it melted so that you could see it and turned it off. But just be sure that it really is melted so it's not grainy. And then I'm going to go ahead and spread this right in my cake pan, about an 8-inch round or square cake pan, and just spread it on the bottom. This is almost a solid mass because it's been sitting there, and I knew I would have a little push to get it all the way out. But you want it to cover the whole thing so that every last drop of gingerbread upside down cake will have a nice topping to it. You know, talking about entertaining, not only do I make a time chart, but I also make a list that I put up on the refrigerator door of when I'm going to serve what. Now go ahead here, I want to make our fillings. Oop, I have to drain pear halves, I forgot. And there's nothing better than this if you've got some luscious fresh peaches, I might add. These are canned pears, like you might find in the middle of the winter. And get a good brand so that you don't have a lot of different sizes. Oop. Here we go. And then you can use either pecans or walnuts. Try to get them all facing the same way. You can use either pecans or walnuts in the inside there. Of course, this sugar will sort of run in the bottom there, but if it won't melt much more. If it's not melted now, it won't ever melt. And then, oop, I better take that out. And then go ahead, sift a cup of flour, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, a teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. And just sift all of that together. And then you mix together an egg. And 1/2 cup of dark brown sugar. When I'm baking, I always have to check my recipes so that you don't get upset with me. And 6 tablespoons of molasses. And I've got plenty of these nice little spatulas here so that I can get it all out there. And you just mix all that together and then add it to the flour mixture. And then we're just going to beat until it's nice and done. Take this and beat your mixture. Ooh, I need to add 1/3 cup of buttermilk and 1/4 cup of melted shortening. Get it all in there. It's really pretty simple. Just beat it up. Oh, about a minute. Hard. Just beat it hard for a minute. And then when it's very smooth, you gently pour it over the pears. And I think you'll do a perfect job of this. I just didn't want to take time to beat it all the way through. See if I can get a nice soft one. Isn't it funny how different spatulas do different things? I like the softer ones rather than the harder ones. Now you just pour this over the pears. Isn't it lovely? Bake it at 350 for 40 to 45 minutes or until a skewer or toothpick comes out clean. Then while it's still warm, you turn it out. Now, it does get over brown, so be sure to bake it in the middle rack of the oven up higher so that the bottom doesn't get brown. And you should turn it out when it's still warm. I baked this ahead and the oven was warm, and I'm hoping that it will do. Well, let me just take my knife, my immaculate knife here, and just run it around the side here and be sure that it's going to come right out. Keep your knife straight when you run around the side. Don't get it catty-wampered like that. And up in this. And then turn it and give it a real push. There, I heard it go. So cross your fingers, be on my side. There we go. Isn't it pretty? Nice. I lived right today. Now, for your sauce, we're going to move this over here. Whip a half a cup of heavy cream to a soft shape, and then just fold in a cup of plain yogurt. And so I've just got those two that you've combined. Combine and put that there, and there you have your lovely sauce. Now, my green beans with lemon and onion, and these are simple. Tip and tail your green beans. Just that means take off both ends. If you want to cut them in smaller pieces, you can. But I just like getting rid of the little ends here. And put them into a large pot of boiling water. You always have to have boiling water when you add your beans, green beans, because you want to keep their color. And you boil them 5 to 7 minutes. And then that was just at the boil. I just didn't have enough burners. Sometimes I don't show you every stage. Then when they're done, you drain them and refresh them in cold water. That sets the color. Sometimes I even freeze them at that point, and that's the trick. So then I'm going to show you some of the different ways to reheat them. Because if you're working, and if you work and are on the road as much as I am, when you come home, you don't have time always to go to the grocery store, buy fresh green beans, cook them, and then reheat them. So you have to figure out a way that you can do it ahead of time. So I do a whole vast quantity of them, and I freeze them if I need to. And I like to do that particularly in the summer when the half runners are out. That's my favorite kind of bean. Okay, now you chop an onion, cut into the root, just follow the little lines across like that. Mother Nature has drawn them for you. Cut it in half, then across, and then down. And heat up some, and I want to show you how to juice a lemon. This is my gadget. I haven't had a chance to really actually use it. Put this in and go like this. And you've got a real simple way of juicing. Now, when you're ready to reheat your beans, you heat 6 tablespoons of butter in the skillet and cook the onion until it's soft, about 5 minutes. And then when it's ready to serve, you add the beans. And then you just toss them. Of course, you'll use 2 spoons. You would never handle anything with your hands like this. And you just toss them in the beans and lemon juice until they are heated through and delicious. And then you season it with salt and pepper. Also, don't grind your pepper without immaculate hands. And they're done. And that's easy. And then you just turn them into your serving bowl. You're ready to eat. And they're really terrific. I do a lot of other things with that. I might chop some, and they like a lot of salt. A lot of salt. I don't say that to you very much, but they like a lot of salt to be just perfect. Now, the American Oriental soup is really simple, and of course, ginger. I think the holy trinity of the Orient is the green onions and ginger and soy sauce. This is an unpeeled ginger. It's got the skin on it, and I'm just going to go ahead. You can either leave the peel on or off. I like to leave mine on just because I'm lazy and it's so hard to peel. And then just cut some slices and then very finely julienne it here. That means get into tiny, tiny, tiny little strips. Boy, it smells terrific in here between this ginger and the beans cooking in that butter. It's wonderful. And then you slice 2 bunches of green onions on the diagonal in 1/2-inch pieces. There we go. And 2 stalks of celery. I think one of the real freeing things in America right now is that we're doing all sorts of cuisine in one meal, and I love that part of it. It just gives us a lot of freedom. and I've cut them into very thin diagonal slices, a little thinner than what I did. And then put 6 cups of chicken stock in your soup pot and add your vegetables. So here's my nice thinly sliced celery. I developed this recipe with my friend Barbara St. Amand. Actually, she did it. She came to visit. She stays with me when she comes to Atlanta, and I stay with her when she goes to Washington. And we just one night wanted something simple and fresh with what we had on hand, and I had a cooked chicken. So you go ahead and add your vegetables, bring them to a boil, and reduce the heat and simmer 10 minutes. And then add 2 cups of cooked chicken, or whatever you've got in the house. You know, you can have it slivered, or you can have it cut or torn into bite-sized pieces, just however much you've got there. And a couple of tablespoons of soy sauce, and a teaspoon of hoisin sauce. I love cooking with my friends. That's one of the things I like doing when Barbara comes to visit me. We always just kind of get in the kitchen and make up recipes, and it's fun. She has a great palate. And then I cook all that together, simmer it about 5 minutes, and then add an 8-ounce can of sliced water chestnuts. Now, there are fresh water chestnuts available, but and they're really funny-looking black things. Don't buy the soft ones. But if you can't get the fresh ones, do use canned. That's what I use. Rinse them real well, though, because I don't like the water that they're packed in. Now, taste this, because if you're using canned stock, you probably will not need to add any salt. But if you made homemade stock, you probably will. But particularly with the soy sauce, you have to be careful, and you may even have to dilute it with a little water if you need to. So just be real careful of that. And here's this lovely bowl that I'm going to pour this in, and I'm going to top it when it's ready with these pretty diagonal slices. And now let me show you everything all together. This is really an all-American menu that has tastes from all around the world, starting in the Orient with the American Oriental chicken soup, then on to the Mediterranean for Dudley's lasagna, which is just heaped with Parmesan and lasagna and tomatoes and good things. And then green beans with lemon and onion, reheated, made ahead if you need to. Roasted red pepper and broccoli salad, and that'll keep a couple days in the refrigerator too. And dried tomato and garlic bread. Then finally up to Scandinavia for an upside-down gingerbread, which uses the same spices that mark this treat originally in the Orient. So you see, it's got a little taste of everything in it. It's a very easy meal to fix ahead of time, and I think that you're going to appreciate that and enjoy that. And it goes for family, or it goes for friends, even a little upbeat entertaining. I think you'll like it very much.